Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Artistry of Code Snippets. In this series, we will be providing you with short episodes with condensed content focused on different topics which can fit under 10 minutes. Today, we will talk about migrating large codebase to TypeScript and how to do that right from the very beginning, and I will also try to explain why this is not really purely technical decision. TypeScript is with us for quite a few years now. It's mature and it's ready to use in production environments. However, that was not the case a few years ago when it first came out. We were struggling with things like external typings ecosystem, which forced us to use different tools than NPM to download and install the types. Definitely far from perfect. The second thing, which was probably the biggest flaw, was that most of the libraries did not include the types in their own packages. So unless you were lucky and hit the types from definitely typed, you had to provide your own typings, which was increasing the cost of implementation of the TypeScript in your organization. Last but not the least was the fact that TypeScript was well known for really bad error messages which were not helping for people starting with the TypeScript. In the past, when I was working together with Artur and Grzegorz, I had the pleasure being one of the drivers of big JS to TS migration, and now at my current company, surprise, I'm doing the same. So I have some insights from these experiences which I want to share with you to help you if you have some JavaScript code at your company which you want to migrate and you haven't started yet. But some insights are pretty transferable to many different topics which can be completely not related to TypeScript. The first thing which you have to do before starting TypeScript migration and basically any kind of big movement like this is to get the approval from the business, because it will cost money and you have to explain to people who are responsible for the money in your company why they should spend this amount of money on the development which is not directly resulting in providing new features to the customers. The great place to gather the data which you need is your log stream. It doesn't matter if you keep it in Azure Application Insights, Loki/Grafana or Sentry or any kind of logging tool. One thing which you can look for in your log stream, and the TypeScript can definitely protect you from this kind of bug, is cannot read something of undefined or of null. Gather these logs, count them, and save them. Another thing in Node.js application which is often causing serious issues are floating promises. Floating promise is basically the promise which was not awaited to get the result from the promise. What's the issue with that? When you put that not awaited promise inside the if statement, it will evaluate to true, because in JS, if it's not undefined or it's not null, it will evaluate to true. Imagine having security function which is asynchronous and it's not awaited in the code. So it's either not throwing when expected because it will throw inside the promise, or it is not awaited and then put inside the if statement which is protecting your resources. I believe many of Node.js developers already came across this kind of issues. However, this is not that easy to find the data proving that we have history of this kind of bugs at the company. You can try to find the logs which sounds like this issue, but you can also go through the history of MRs or PRs on GitHub, GitLab or any kind of source control which you use. And also you can go through Jira tickets and look for the comments about the reason of the bug which was solved in the past. What are the other benefits which you can sell to the business to get the TypeScript migration approved? First of all, it will make onboarding of newcomers easier. When they will start reading the typed code, it will help them to understand what is going on there, and they will spend less time on understanding the code. The second thing, which is really beneficial, is that migrating to TypeScript, providing the types on the untyped code, will help to gather the business knowledge. From my experience, migrating the files to TypeScript will force people to better understand what is really going on in the code, and it will also let them to ask important questions about the data flow in your application. After few steps of migration are done, not to even mention the complete migration, it will definitely speed up the development, because when people get into some place, they will already understand and see what is going on there, because the types will be there. The migration to TypeScript is also helping with the bugs prevention, which is critical to the business. The number will vary from the company to company, but for example, Airbnb reported about 38% of the bugs which could be prevented with the TypeScript, which was based on the postmortems analysis. When you finally got the approval from the business, you can start the migration. I have also some quick tips on this, but I will not go about the details, how to set up tsconfig.json or this kind of stuff. I want to tell you to start small. From my experience, it's best to start with the first MR, which does not include any file migration. Why? Just include the tooling, get it merged, and enable people to use TypeScript at your company. Limiting the scope of changes in any merge request is always beneficial, and it doesn't matter if it's TypeScript migration or feature development. The smaller MR is easier to review and it's easier to test, so it's safer for the business. When you will start typing your code, you will be tempted to do that perfectly from the beginning, but it's not really possible, so don't be afraid of mistakes. Do some quick types at the beginning, get the first part of the code migrated and get it green on the CI. This way you will get the first steps done. Then you can start improving the types over the time with another files being migrated and other data flows being recognized properly. The migration is also a great opportunity for the teamwork. Why I'm saying that? It's because when you are typing some part of the code, if possible, and you can approach the people who created that code at the first place, you can get to them, ask them, take the knowledge out of their heads and put it in the code as types. This is really important to share the knowledge during the migration with other team members. Depends on your team size. You can do that in different ways. You can do that through Slack, you can do that through the meetings or so, but always try to share knowledge as soon as it's gathered, so others can benefit from that and use this knowledge when they are migrating the code. We will close this episode with pretty hard statement. The TypeScript migration will not magically solve all the issues with your code. Why? This is just a tool and it's on you and your team to keep good quality of the code. That's it for today. You can find the article which was created as part of the preparation for this episode on my Medium profile, which is marekurbanowicz.medium.com, but it will also be linked in the description. Leave us a comment on Facebook and Twitter. Stay typed and hear you soon.